Trust the experts. Trust AccuDrive for accurate information, the right advice, and an experienced perspective. The new Toyota Camry, a global bestseller with a massive legacy. This is the India spec car you can see on your screen. But it is almost exactly the same car I showed you just weeks ago. That was the US spec. You can see it's got really sharp LEDs, very sharp in terms of not just the execution of the lighting, but even how it cuts through the metal. Very nice. The grille, well, this one is a little bit more stylistic. You can get this in a more simple bumper pattern in some markets, so we'll have to wait and see what we get. But this is the most expressive. It's very Lexus-like, and it gives the car a lot of character. It also looks nice and wide in the front, which is something I think in our market people will like a lot. Now here's the kicker. That car is very similar to the version we have got. Except ours is better. Yes, how's that for a change? Ours is better spec'd and is more luxuriously appointed on the inside. Same tech, same safety equipment for the most part, but a bit more of the glitz and glam. It is kind of edgy and very different to previous Camrys. In fact, I'll go out on a limb and say possibly the sexiest, best-looking Camry ever. And this is the 9th generation. In India, there will be two variants, the Elegant and the Sprint. The latter is on the screen, but it will launch only around March at a higher price than the Elegant, which debuted earlier this month at a whopping 48 lakh rupees. Yes, you heard me right. 48 lakhs for a Camry. And that's the base version. Alright, on to our detailed review that starts now. A big visual draw is the Camry's exterior design. And now at the back is where you really pick up a little cue that this is a Camry. It's kind of recognizable as a Camry, but otherwise, nothing about this is like any of the previous models. In fact, it was the 6th generation before this that I used to think was good looking. The last two, not very inspired, but I will say that it is built on the same platform as the last car. And globally, the Camry has always used the same platform, of course, for its different market versions. But those versions, it was almost chameleon like the car because they looked very different to each other at times. Not quite the case with this generation. Now you get this car. And in fact, it's very similar to the car I showed you from the US very recently. Now that sedan was the XSE, the sporty variant in the US, but it also had this two-tone roof and also the black mirrors, the black alloy wheels, and a little bit of that black skirting in that bumper. So it looks even edgier, even sharper, even sexier. But this variant, the Sprint, will only be launched around March. We've got the Elegant that's been launched. Those are the prices that have been announced. This one will be higher. Now, you've also got this interesting diamond pattern here of sorts, but unlike the US spec where you see a mesh which goes all through that bumper insert, here you've got it only on the ends, this pattern, and otherwise you've got these horizontal stripes with this diamond shaped pattern on the side, finished off in a sort of a gunmetal finish. It looks nice. It also looks very Lexus-like. That's what I said about that car. But you decide which one looks better. The good news is that it does still retain all the other nice things about this new generation, including the very sharp LED DRL and the overall styling with the DRL is kind of pushed inwards, and then you've got the actual headlamp cluster on the absolute edge here. You also got that hammerhead shark-like styling, which is now going on to all Toyotas worldwide, which means that the bumper really sort of comes out at quite a sharp angle, and then you've got this midsection which is really flat and really forward. That's a distinct design language mark now. And then of course you've got the fog lamps down there. Overall, the integrity of this design, even the way the little bit of the ADAS sensors and Equipment has been tucked in there. It's really coming together. It's very, very nice looking. You, of course, have to tell me if you agree with me on this design language working for Toyota and whether you would like to see it on other Toyotas in India too. Even the cabin comes together really well. Everything seems well thought out and well finished. Can't do a launch these days without a sunroof, and so you've got one on the Camry. It's not panoramic though. Nice chunky steering wheel, and you've got a whole lot of functionality because there's lots of buttons here. The overall feel of this cabin is pretty upmarket, pretty high-end and well finished. You've got buttons even on the seat here to move this one forward to make more space at the rear. Perforated leatherette and nice leather feel on the dash as well. Quality of materials is pretty good. The two-tone with the beige or rather tan does again increase that luxe quotient a little bit than the all black that you've seen on the US spec. There's also a lot of tech here because you've got the virtual cluster and this big 12.3-inch screen, which includes things like the ADAS functionality, the adjustments for all of the features, and smartphone wireless connectivity. So again, nicely done. It's well laid out. A few buttons here for the climate control system. We've also got the seat ventilation for the front seats. Again, a bit of a must-have these days, or so we are told. And wireless phone charger too. So lots of things I'd like to take you through in terms of some of the functions here, and then of course the rear seat and what you get there. But a quick detail on design. You see these horizontal stripes, might be a bit of a nightmare from a dusting point of view, but otherwise it complements what you see in the front grille. Also, this little design detail on the AC vent controller. Again, a little bit like the diamond pattern you see in the front. So these little details are nicely finished. It does add a little bit to the cabin. Overall, I'd say people are going to like how this looks. Imagine how much of a smash hit this would be as a more affordable yet premium enough car to really make you feel special. But again, let me remind you, it's now a luxury car, kissing that 50 lakh rupee mark. Pretty decent on legroom, and you've got a really plush carpeting over here. Rear AC vents, which for some reason look like they're from 1980. Then there's this seat. If I'm sitting on the left side, well, you've got these little buttons. You can change the recline if no one's sitting up front, and also send it forward to create even more legroom. Always welcome. Manual sunshades. Little noisy, but always welcome. And pretty decent on fit and finish and comfort. But you can manipulate this seat further. The drop-down armrest, which comes down, also has the inbuilt cup holders, but has a little bit of a screen which lets you recline or put forward your seat. It's always nice in this segment to have reclining seats. You can do that for this side as well, of course. You can manipulate the music controls. You can put this rear sunshade up and down electrically, which is nice. And you can also play around with the climate control and change the AC temperature. The seats feel upmarket, and this cabin will impress and is one of the better ones in the segment. The 9-speaker JBL sound system helps. Also, I like how the rear windscreen's sunblind retracts when you put the car in reverse, and then also it returns to its original position once you start driving. Under the hood is Toyota's 5th generation hybrid system, which combines a 2.5-litre 4-cylinder engine with the battery and motor. It's not all new, but works just fine. And Toyota's dropped the less powerful Camry engines globally. 227 horses of combined hybrid power, an electronic CVT, and a mileage of 25.49 kilometers per litre. Is that compelling enough? Now, the electric motor makes 208 Nm of torque, while the engine gives you 221 Nm. That is good. Now, with the previous generation car, we'd already seen a little bit of that driver focus returning to the Camry. It was nicer to drive, but this one gets even more so. I said that a few weeks ago when I first drove this car, this generation I should say, because yes, with the Indian variant, the setup for the suspension is definitely different. It's a lot softer, more comfort oriented, but the engine remains a little bit sharper and focused on just nicer driving. You don't get instant response. The CVT does feel a little sluggish if you try and slam it. I said that earlier too. I'll say that that's pretty much the case with this one, but the steering is just so much nicer, and on the whole the car doesn't feel heavy. With a new generation car, you expect a little bit of that extra deck to really surprise you. It's still the same conventional system. I would have expected pure EV driving to be just a little bit more, but in ideal conditions, you still get about 10 kilometers at a stretch, not at higher speeds, obviously, of pure EV mode. You can turn it on or off. There are 3 drive modes for what it's worth. There's Eco, Normal, and would you believe it, Sport. The animations on the instrument cluster, though, are pretty cool. Now, I spent some time sitting at the back as well, and I endorse that view that it remains comfortable. It would have been nice if they had added just that little extra, like rear seat ventilation, for example, which would have really sort of sealed the deal at this price point. But on the whole, can't complain about comfort for sure, especially with those reclining seats. You do get plenty of safety equipment though, which is great. 9 airbags, 360-degree camera, ABS with EBD, 3-point seat belts with pre-tensioners, ISOFIX child seat anchors, and Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0 ADAS suite, which features like lane keep assist, lane departure warning or alert, collision avoidance, and adaptive cruise control, of course. So, in a nutshell, the new Camry is a great package with just the right blend of comfort, tech, luxury, efficiency, and yes, even performance. But the deal breaker is the atrocious pricing. Nearly 50 lakh rupees is just not cool for a Camry. And imagine, this one is locally assembled, not a direct import. The only thing it has going for itself is that it's still a lot cheaper than the compact luxury sedans, and there's no real rival if a full-size sedan is what your heart desires. Time to switch gears and get into Acco Drive. For hassle-free car service, in-depth reviews, great deals on new cars, and personalized advice from our experts.